listening to the Big Guy Sports Radio Show. Your home for New York sports.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up with Football in New York, presented by the Big Guy Sports. I am your host, Jim, and we are here with our co-hosts, Mac and Matt, on June 28th, Sunday morning, rise and shine, 8:30 in the morning. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing real well. I hope you guys are doing good, too. This is a great show. This is in my wheelhouse, as many of you know. Some of you know anyway. I played football for a lot of years, and I coached football for a lot of years, and this is right in my wheelhouse, and I can't wait to get going on this.
Jim, when I saw what we were talking about today, man, I was excited. I think it's going to be a great show. Hopefully today, I'm not saying MLB like I was saying NFL during the baseball show yesterday. I think maybe I got enough sleep last night. We'll get it together.
All right.
You just jinx yourself, Matt. You just jinx yourself, and everybody's going to be listening for you to say MLB today.
Yeah, they're going to wait for me. They're going to wait. Yes. They're going to wait for me.
I'm trying to figure out what I want to know, Mac, what kind of coaching experience you have. I don't know.
I mean, I didn't make it that far, but I coached youth. I coached high school. I had an offer to go coach in college. At the time, I had 3 young kids, and anybody that's coached in sports, high school and up to college, they basically want to scout for you to start scouting other teams, moving around the country, and you get paid about $5,000 to $10,000 a year. And of course, I couldn't support my kids on that, so I had to turn it down. Now, if I was single, you might see me right now, assistant defensive coordinator for the Giants. Man, that was my dream.
Really? I was like, is he holding out on us, like not telling us something that
Yeah, Mac knows something we don't know.
I mean, you never know, right? So, well, today we're going to cover lots of topics. We're going to talk about, well, it wouldn't be a day if we didn't talk about the Jets. We're going to talk some Giants. We're going to talk about some of the big-time battles going on in the teams in the NFC East. So for our, outside local fans, we'll even touch base on the Redskins, Cowboys, and Eagles a little bit. And then just some NFL news. So we'll start with the NFL news. So the NFL announced that they're going to cut 2 preseason games this year, which I didn't get too upset about that. I mean, for me, I don't care for the preseason games anyway. I mean, aside from position battles, I've always thought 4 preseason games was too much. And I've always been one of those people who kind of felt like, why not just cut to 2 preseason games and add a regular season game? I've always felt that way. I don't really care much about the preseason, but they say, they want to cut back. They want to keep it safe. It makes sense to me. I mean, I guess, what do you guys think on that? I mean, it's just, is that really a big deal? I mean,
yes, it is. And I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that wants to cut these preseason games and says it doesn't matter, doesn't know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, that's me.
Because I don't know. I'm telling you right now, Jim and Matt, the preseason games are where coaches make decisions on trimming their schedules. If the draft picks they made are good, if their signings in the offseason are good. And you don't want to see players, their future, and maybe the future of the team, being put in some kind of a turmoil because you have a good player that you didn't know was that good, or you have a good high draft pick that you like. I'll give you an example because this really good. All right, so Darnay Holmes, we picked it in the fourth in the fourth round of the draft. We already know what he does against college players. We saw that. There's video on it. We watched him against college players. But we haven't seen him against a professional football wide receiver yet. So if it was me and I was coaching one of these teams, I would go across the sideline and I would talk to the coach and I would say, do me a favor, let me know if you're going to put the veterans in and what quarter you're going to put the veterans in. And I'm going to empty my bench and I'm going to put all my rookies up against these guys because I want to see what a Darnay Holmes can do against a quality NFL wide receiver, Amari Cooper, if that's one of them, or any good receiver that another team has, because I already know I know how fast he is. I already know that he has a lot of potential. But until he can go up against a wide receiver that's NFL caliber, I don't know really what the hell he can do. So you're taking 2 games away from the team for these players so that they have a chance at making the NFL and have a chance to show what they have against quality receivers, because they don't know that yet. And I don't care how much film you study, and I don't care how much drills you run. This is where they get to shine, and this is where you get to see those matchups.
Right. I agree with you to some degree, Mac, as far as the evaluation of these guys are concerned. I think more the biggest part of why they're pushing it back is like install issues, the time with the players, things like that. Christian Fourier said yesterday when he was talking about this that he thinks they should just push the whole season back. You know what I'm saying? Truth be told, if you think about the preseason, we don't even see the vets for half of it, really and truly. We see them for a quarter, then we see them for 2 quarters, and we see them for 3 quarters. You've got guys are going to make the team. You can get enough guys in for enough steps in 2 games, in my opinion. They should have did this a long time ago, at least down to 3. 2 is not enough. I think 4 is too many. I think 3 preseason games would be enough. I'm okay with this. I think it's just really just a fact of install stuff and safety stuff and tech issues, things like that. I don't know if they'll go forward with it forever, but I would like them to.
Well, real quick, Jim. I know that one thing, that in these preseasons, the ones that are pushing to get rid of these preseason games, some of them anyway, is the commentators that are working for these big media outlets that pay for these games. And they don't think it's interesting because they don't get a lot of viewership. And some of the season holder tickets there that have to pay for the whole season, including the preseason games, they don't like that they're paying for preseason games. Well, guess what? Then all these fans should stand up and say, hey, listen, we're not paying for those 4 preseason games. We're just paying for the regular season games. This puts the coaches in the NFL, you have never heard one of them come out and say, well, we should cut the preseason games, because they need this to evaluate their teams.
Well, I feel like I'm comfortable being the one as you said, knows nothing about anything, so I'm okay with it. And I still say preseason sucks, and I would get rid of it. So I'm going against everything Max says on the air. I'm okay being in that dumpy group. I know that most fans will probably agree with me. Preseason's a waste of time. I understand what you're saying, and I think a good comparison would have been probably Javon Leak for that argument, just because of the fact that he's not guaranteed a roster spot. Darnay Holmes is going to be on the roster. I mean, he was drafted in the 4th round. He's not going anywhere. I know I am okay with preseason. I just don't like 4 games, because I just think 4 is too many. I think it's too risky. I think you worry about your stars getting hurt. I don't want my star getting hurt in the preseason game against the Jets. The NFL so much doesn't think much of preseason anymore. I mean, this is all about the virus right here. But before the virus took off, they were talking about cutting the preseason down anyway. They were trying to get the league to agree to an extra game in the regular season, cut down to 2. If you look, for example, what was the highlight of the Giants and Jets preseason every year when the Giants and Jets played in week 3? That would be the most minutes you got out of starters. They changed that. That's not the way it is anymore. Now the Giants and Jets going forward play the first preseason game, where none of these guys are going to play anymore. I'm just saying, I think in the future, unrelated to the virus, because this is all about the virus, in the future, you're going to see them cut down preseason games, even if it's just one game.
Well, tell that to Victor Cruz, because you know something, he didn't get a shot. He was unsigned, restricted walk-on basically, and he put up them big numbers against the Jets. We would have never had Victor Cruz if there was only 2 preseason games. So I understand what you're saying, that you may not be interested, that people may not be interested, but I'll again tell you, there is no coach that came out that I've ever heard that says he wants to cut the preseason games. And as far as your starter getting hurt during preseason, okay, they don't play during preseason. So the first game he goes out, he gets hurt. And how do you know that backup quarterback is going to be able to go up against NFL league professionals on defense and do a good job? You don't know that. Your season may be in jeopardy just because of that.
Mac, that's a really good point you're making, man. Listen, and I totally agree with you on the Victor Cruz thing. It's got its pros and it has its cons. But what they've turned it into, they won't even broadcast half of these games. All it is just a dress rehearsal practice, essentially, for a lot of these teams. And I believe that with joint team practices and stuff like that, you can cut it down to 2 or 3 games, have your joint team practices, run them just like you would run a preseason game. do it on your own time, and let's not waste time doing. And you can do it in a safe way where we're not tackling to the ground, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. Don't do a full pass rush. There's different things you can do to get these things going. Because really and truly, man, you look at the preseason, and then we get to week 1, and what's everyone's excuse? Oh man, give them a few weeks, they're going to get going. So if they need a few weeks to get going anyway, because the preseason is so irrelevant and limited, I think we just keep it rolling 2 games, let them run the joint practices, and take it from there into week 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting discussion to be had. I mean, I don't know where it's going to come out. I mean, I got the people this morning, so I'll take it. The 3 of them, they all say preseason causes too many injuries. So I'll take the 3 fans I had this morning that agree. I don't know which way it's going to turn out, but I know the NFL, unrelated to, of course, as I said, what's going on now, because this is strictly virus related. Anybody who's been following the football knows the NFL is trying really hard to eliminate some preseason games permanently. And I think eventually that'll happen. I think eventually that'll happen. And coaches will just have to find a way to make do. I mean, it is what it is. They're not going to cut them all, Mac. They're not going to get rid of all 4 preseason games. But the NFL has been talking about for years cutting it back to 2.
Well, you saw what Bill Belichick did, as Matt mentioned, doing the joint practices. So since they started talking about this, Belichick's a step ahead. All right, then we're going to go down and we're going to scrimmage, what we call scrimmage, the Titans, and then we're going to see what our players can do. So there is different ways you can go about this, as Matt mentioned, with joint practices, which is a great idea. But I'm going to say we have first round busts. We get Eric Flowers, and if we're going to wait till the fourth game to see if this guy can really block or not, that's a first round bust. So him playing in college and him playing in pros is 2 different stories, man. It's the same thing going high school to college. They may be a superstar down to high school level. They go up to some university and they last for 2 weeks up there or just through the training camp. So these are big investments teams are making. I mean, again, I'll say Darnay Holmes, you brought up Lee. Another great comparison. Here's guys that didn't even start down at the college level and can be hitting gyms. Now, how are we going to know how Javon Leake, how he runs really against the National Football League professional defense? We don't know that. So I think you have got to, coming down from 95 players all the way down to 45 players in weeks, guys. This is going to be hard to do, especially if you're not having teams play.
Well, I think the roster size is 58 now, not to interrupt Matt, but just really quick on one other thing. But there's a definite counter argument to be made to what you said. Javon Leake comes in, let's say, he ain't out there with the starters. He gets in the 3rd quarter. He goes nuts and runs up 130 yards. That doesn't mean anything because he just ran up 130 yards against 3rd-string talent.
That's why I said.
We need to see what these guys can do. So my opinion is, what do you really learn sometimes about guys? Like, for example, what was that guy's name? I can't remember this guy. He was in the Giants camp a few years ago. He was getting a lot of press for his crazy cars. He had all the gold teeth, a real skinny guy in preseason. He was a wide receiver in preseason. He returned a few punts for touchdowns. I could have swore his last name was Lewis or something. Help me here. Michael Lewis or something.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about, right? He had the flash.
I can't remember, man.
And he went out there and he crushed preseason. Crushed it. And he made the team. And then he didn't even get in 2 games and was gone. Yeah. What guys do against 3rd and 4th strings means nothing. It means nothing because just because you can go out there and burn a cornerback who's a 4th-string cornerback, 5th-string quarterback, doesn't mean you could burn Bradbury. You know what I mean?
The fact of the matter is, Mac, I get what you're saying about we need to see them against professional. Roger Lewis Jr. Thank you, Ernie. I don't remember him having goals and stuff in his mouth. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention.
It was great. It was beautiful.
Yeah, maybe I wasn't paying. But I remember he was a preseason superstar, kind of like Kerry Wynn, a guy that played for a couple of seasons for the Giants who would just have these great monster preseasons. And they're like, man, Kerry Wynn's going to step it up this year and really turn it up. And what happens? He shows out in the preseason. He gets in the regular season, and he's got a great motor, but he's not getting no pressure against the first stringers. He's not getting no pressure against the guys that he's actually playing against between weeks 1 and 17. You know why? Because guess what? When he was on the field in the preseason, he was matched up against guys he was playing against in college. You see what I'm saying? It's just an equivocation. It's just, hey, you're going to play against your college guys again, but you're going to be wearing our uniform now until we get into the regular season. They don't open up the playbook, very limited playbook, offensively, defensively. they're just running skins on defense, very skeleton, different shells and stuff like that. They're not showing you different coverages. They're not showing you different blitz packages. They're not showing you different stunts, things like that. So as an offensive lineman, you're not seeing that much. You're not getting that much exposure. Basically just camp blocking.
Well, then, Matt, that's why I'm saying I would go across the field and ask the coach on the other team when they're going to play their regulars, because that's when I want to see my guys go up against real NFL talent.
Yeah.
And you can give me all the examples you want of players that made the team because they had a good preseason, and I'll just throw Victor Cruz, one of the greatest wide receivers of the Giants, in your face every time.
One guy.
Sure.
You're talking about one guy?
Yeah, but one of the greatest Giant receivers of all time.
It's a big one.
Yeah,
it's a big one.
We're not talking about abolishing the preseason. We're talking about cutting it down to 2 games. Do you really need 4?
Yes.
I mean, you not do no way. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
As a coach, a lot of time, yeah. But as a coach, it's very important, Jim. Because
what about scrimmages? You just said they could do scrimmages.
Okay, that yes.
You can't learn about in practice.
Yeah, I agree. Scrimmages are good, Jim. But I'm saying when you're playing a game, when you have reps on the field, when you're kicking field goals, when you're setting up your special teams, when you're doing your 2-minute drives, that's hard to emulate in a scrimmage because it's not a game. It's not a game situation. And I agree to a point with Matt. Yeah, the scrimmages with other teams are very good for the team, but it doesn't totally emulate a game.
Well, you guys can have the preseason. I'll stick to the regular season.
Yeah, I'll pass.
I don't want it. I just look at a couple games and that's it. Cody, I see all the questions you're asking on in the chat, and the reason we haven't brought any of those up yet is that we are covering those topics at some point in the show, so I don't want to bring those questions into a segment until we get to it. But we do have a segment on most of the stuff you've asked coming up. So
call in, man. Call in.
Yeah, or you could call in later and ask the questions when we get to that segment. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry. So they're going to get rid of a couple games. They've already squashed the Hall of Fame game for this year. For the sake of discussion, it's strictly related to the virus. It has nothing to do with their their future plans. The last that I've heard on their negotiations with the players to cut down the preseason games is actually, and you'll be interested to know this, Mac, the players themselves want to get rid of the preseason.
Well, of course they do.
They want to be down to 2, so it's going to happen. So you should get used to it.
Well, of course they do.
The only reason they haven't made an official deal yet is because the owners want the 2 games taken away, but they want 1 regular season game added so they don't lose money. The players want 2 preseason games taken away, but they don't want any additional regular season game because it beats up their bodies and other reasons. So that's the holdup. So right now we're still stuck at the 4 games.
Well, of course they don't want, the regular players don't want to play in preseason. They don't want to hit during the drills. They don't want to do a lot of things that may hurt their season and may hurt their payment. But I'm telling you right now, back in the 70s and 80s, they didn't care. It didn't matter whether they wanted to or not. That was being part of the team. That was part of getting ready for football. So the players, of course, have changed. I'm going to make $10 million next year. I don't want to get injured in drills. I don't want to get injured in preseason. Well, what I'm saying, Jim, is that in football, execution and timing is very important, and you need some game situations to see that, and you need to see if your rookies are capable of doing that.
All right, fair enough. I mean, different time and age, 70s and 80s to today. Today, a broken fingernail is 2 weeks off. I mean, it's a lot different.
Different ball game.
Yeah.
But hey, I get where you're coming from, and it's a great debate to have, and I'll be happy when they cancel 2 preseason games. So I might be the only one, but hey, I don't need it. I'd rather have the extra regular season game personally. I mean, I hope if they do make that cancel that they add a regular season game. They find out a way to compensate the players and say.
I thought they already agreed to the extra regular season game, but they're just not implementing it this year.
I know they're back and forth. They're trying to get to it. It's all about the players are saying, we don't want to do it to our bodies, which is really code for we need to be paid enough extra money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really about their bodies. If you tell them they're getting another full prorated check for that game, they'll be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the ones that don't want to be there will just be like, I got to sit out this week.
Yeah. Oh, I got a sprained ankle.
Hamstrings tight.
Yeah.
Tight today.
Yeah. Great team players you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're all studs. All right. So the then listen, the NFL right now looks pretty star-spangled banner good at the moment, considering baseball just put everybody through. So, football is looking pretty good right now. I ain't seen any of those guys saying, hey, despite the fact that we're going to be breathing on each other when we're tackling, we're going to take off. I haven't seen any of them say that. So, maybe a couple because of their families. So, I didn't know if you saw this in the news yesterday, but, I think there's been no dispute that Eli Manning, when he's been around, has been one of the model citizens for football. I think that was one of the things that, besides the 2 Super Bowls, is that if you look, Eli Manning, everyone appreciated him because besides the Super Bowls, even though, and I think that for a while, because if you look at Eli Manning's stats, he didn't have a lot of good years. He threw for a lot of good yards, and he won the 2 Super Bowls, but the Giants had mostly losing years during his tenure. But I think the Giants fans overlooked that because he always held himself the right way. He was a good guy. He was a nice kind of guy. And Eli Manning went on and won the Football Writers Good Guy Award. So good guy award. I don't know.
Good guy award.
I don't know if you saw that. So he's the second member of the Giants to win the award. First of all, let's just understand the award started in 2005. The Tiki Barber won it in 2006, and then Eli Manning won it. Chris Long, the defensive end for the Eagles, had won it the last 2 years. So this year Eli won it on his swan song. So I mean, the Good Guy Award, Mac. Right?
Well, listen, Eli played on a lot of terrible teams. The offensive line stunk, and he wasn't the reason for wins and losses. We've talked about that before. He did a great job of keeping him in games. He brought him back a lot of times in the last 2 minutes to win some of them tight games. And as far as Tiki Barber goes, I mean, he might have been great with the press, but he really put the knife in the back of some of the Giant players when he left. So I don't think the Giant players agree with that too much. But yeah, I mean, Eli Manning is in the hub center of the the capital of entertainment, of sports, and he just had a way of talking about himself. It was my fault. He never threw anybody under the bus. He never said the offensive line played poorly, that the defense didn't hold their own, which in a lot of cases that was very true. He never did that, and his country way of coming across was nobody felt that he was threatening. He was very calm, very quiet, and he was very self-deprecating. So he was a real good man, a great leader on the field, and a great man to represent the Giants.
Yep, I agree completely, man. Eli has been a consummate, is the perfect word, consummate teammate, consummate professional from the day he came into the league in 2004. A lot of people say what they want to say about the draft and the trade and all that, but let me tell you something. It takes 2 teams to make a trade happen. The Giants didn't hold a gun to the Chargers and vice versa. Ernie, of course, he didn't do this to get Eli Manning here or vice versa. Eli Manning wanted to be a Giant. Eli Manning was a Giant. Eli Manning was one of the top 3 Giants of all times. Okay, he brought us 2 Super Bowls. He was always a great professional, always a great teammate, always accountable. You've got the Eli Manning Children's Cancer Clinic at the Bateson Hospital that he opened up. It raises ridiculous amounts of money for them every year. Everything he does is based around the Children's Hospital, the Cancer Hospital, everything he's done for teammates, and then you come out later on in his career and you see him making jokes with Peyton on the TV, the direct TV commercials and the dancing commercial during the Super Bowl, which was hilarious with Odell Beckham Jr. So he's just a lighthearted, joking kind of guy, and he's always just been a great teammate, great leader, durable. He showed up every week to play no matter what. Helped Daniel Jones in the transition, was a great backup, great teammate, great leader. And I'm excited. He said he's only taken a year away from football during that USO video call he was on with the troops and stuff. And he said, hey, I'm going to take a year away from football. We'll see where it goes from there. So I'm excited to see where Eli goes from here. I'm glad I'm seeing his name more and more in the headlines, and he's starting to put his face back out there in public. He's on Twitter now, and he's hilarious on Twitter. And I'm excited to see where Eli goes from here. This is cool that he got this award. He deserves it. And on a side note, Tiki Barber needs to apologize to the Giants.
Right. Before we get into Tiki, which I see the fans are pretty rough on Tiki this morning. Eli is the epitome of the Good Guy Award. I really hope he doesn't come back and play. If that's what.
No, he won't come back and play, Jim. No,
I don't
want
to
coach
another uniform. I'm still getting over the Joe Montana and the Kansas City uniform thing.
Once a Giant, always a Giant, Jim.
Right. So the only thing ever bothered me about Eli when he was here, and it's a very small thing, is because he's such a good guy, is there were times when things would be going bad and they'd pan to the sidelines and he'd have that all shucks look on his face. And I just wanted him to get fired up. Get the all shucks look on your face and go tear into somebody. I don't need to see it. That look. It's the only thing that ever aggravated me about Eli. Eli, throw something at somebody, hit Odell with the net and reintroduce him, get him fired.
Put him in the net.
Anything. I mean, but that's the only thing. But he deserves it. He was never a bad Giant. He was never a bad teammate. He didn't even flip out when the Giants flubbed up his streak and put Geno Smith in for a game. And if there's any time that you could flip out and people would understand, it's Geno Smith. People would have been like, we get it. We get it. Whatever. Listen, you brought up the trade. Is what it is, man. Everybody had every quarterback in that first round had a successful run. Eli got his Super Bowls. Ben got his Super Bowl. And yes, Philip Rivers didn't win the Super Bowl, but he went on to have a Hall of Fame career. So, every quarterback in that mix that was in that discussion in those top 15 picks turned out all right. Everybody turned out all right.
And Joe, Jim, what irritates me about this is when people say that if the Giants had Philip Rivers, we would have had more Super Bowls.
No.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Philip Rivers was on some very talented San Diego Charger teams, and he couldn't lead them to the championship game into the Super Bowl. It takes a certain person to be a leader, to bring somebody to a Super Bowl. You don't have to be fired up. You can lead by example. The best thing about Eli was he was cool under pressure. Right. Anybody that saw that catch that David Tyree made in the Super Bowl, if Eli didn't break 4 tackles and didn't go down, that catch would have never happened. He never gave up. He kept his cool. He went downfield. He gave Tyree a great chance to catch the ball. Tyree makes an impressive catch and probably one of the greatest catches in the Super Bowl by far. This is the kind of leader that Eli was. He's just watch me, follow me. Don't listen to the nonsense on the sidelines or in the press.
Yeah, I don't think Philip Rivers would have been able to handle the press in New York the same way Eli Manning did. Philip Rivers doesn't have that same cool head and demeanor that Eli had. He was out there in San Diego in a quiet press area, really not getting much coverage with the Chargers and stuff like that. And he still had issues with the press. And, Philip Rivers said this, and he hot mic on this, and this is what he said to his teammates. And
he was fiery.
Yeah, he's fiery. He's a fiery, charged up guy. And I would have loved that at my quarterback position. But at the same time, I don't think that would have been compatible with Tom Coughlin and what we were doing in New York at the time when those guys were drafted.
I don't know if Tom Coughlin and Philip Rivers would have got along, because Tom Coughlin was more of a this is my system, do it my way, and Philip. Yeah. But that's, to me, it's always been like a dumb argument in any position. You can't really think about, what would happen what if Ben came here and Eli went to Pittsburgh, and those are bad arguments to have, because it's all different teams and different rosters and different offensive strategies. Like, for example, if Eli Manning had gone to Pittsburgh, for example, and Pittsburgh had a lot over Ben's career, Pittsburgh has had more rosters that were better than our rosters over that time period. But then again, Ben won a lot of games over there because he could run and he could get out of tackles. That's not Eli. Eli's one claim getting out of a tackle was the Super Bowl. He never got out of another tackle. God was looking down on him that day. I don't know how to, because So I'm saying those are bad arguments. Ernie mentions on Facebook, he says he'd love to see Eli and Romo calling games together. That would just be entertaining. Romo's out there, he goes on for like 30 minutes. Oh, look, they're lining up for this. I think the quarterback's going to have room to run. And Eli would probably be like, you shouldn't run. You should just throw the ball. It'd be great. I mean, them two together, I don't know.
I would love that.
Football games.
I'd love it.
Yeah, and the hits that Ben took, Tyrone mentions, Eli wouldn't have been able to take, which is true. Ben is a big guy.
Let me tell you,
Eli was an Iron Man.
Let me tell you something. That San Francisco game, when they went to the Super Bowl, he was destroyed.
Eli was a lot.
This man came off the field with his helmet sideways a couple of times.
Chin strap.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, they weren't calling roughing the passer that game, and Eli came back and let him down the field and won that game. So he may not be the most physical guy as far as standing there taking punishment, but I'll tell you, when the time came, and again, this is something about Eli a lot of quarterbacks don't have, when the moment was big and he had to do it, this man did it, and he did it with gumption and with class, man. He was really cool.
Super clutch quarterback when the game was on the line. And I think you mentioned that game. There's a video out there somewhere, you can find it on YouTube or whatever, where there was a time, the video is just strictly talking about Eli getting hit. There was a time in that game, I don't have the exact number, 15, 16, 17, where somewhere between 15 and 17 snaps in a row on offense, Eli got hit. Yeah. Whether he threw it or didn't throw it, he got hit. So he took a beat in that game, and they still won that game. But that's Eli's claim to fame, though, is that that was Eli's always biggest problem, is that he couldn't get us to the playoffs all the time, but when he did get us to the playoffs, he was money when it counted. So it was almost like if you got him to the playoffs more, he might have won more Super Bowls because he was clutch.
Statistically, a couple of the best playoff. Statistically, he is one of the best playoff quarterbacks of all time, just based on the numbers when he was there. The
only thing holding him back is the lack of playoff appearances, or even higher up that list. Mm-hmm. But there were so many years he didn't go to the playoffs.
Bro, even in 2016 when they went and our defense was so awful and he was lighting it up in 2016, we went to Green Bay and he would have had a great game barring a couple drop passes in the end zone and stuff like that. We like to have won that game if we had stayed in it early.
And not gone fishing.
And not gone fishing and things like that, or boating or whatever we were doing, But the guy always shows up and he's there, and I'm glad he was our quarterback for so long.
Yeah.
And take one more example, guys. Look at the combination when Beckham came there as a rookie. Eli, they say Beckham is a great receiver, and he is. But Eli made sure that this guy was in the best position to throw the ball so he could make them long breaks. He's not doing so good right now at Cleveland as he did with the Giants. You know what I'm saying? Even though the Giants had a less talented team, Beckham shined with the Giants. And right now in Cleveland, he ain't shining so bright.
I've never felt Eli was threw a great ball. Like, I'm not talking about getting it there, but he threw a lot of wobbly ducks, Eli, which is okay. I'm all right with that. He got the ball there. He got everyone's going to throw the pretty spiral all the time. But you got to be honest. If you look at the video, he was a duck thrower.
When he was on, he was on. When he was off, he was off.
Ducks everywhere. When he was off, he couldn't hit a moving truck coming across the field.
But, man, let me tell you, when he was ready to zip that thing in there, it's getting there. Because Eli, people slept on his arm strength and stuff like that for a long time, but moving on.
Well, Coughlin was the perfect coach for him. They just had that. Like, Coughlin understood what kind of system with his coaches you need to run to make Eli successful. And Coughlin also went back to what Giant football was always about.
Run the ball.
About the 80s and the 90s. Defense. He put defense on the field, hit the quarterback. And that's why so many Giants fans worry right now, because they worry, but this is a conversation for another day, but they worry about how you're going to hit the quarterback, So Justin, I just want to throw this in there for you. Justin asked, because you can even answer this if you like for him. Justin wants to know, do you think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer? Before I turn it over, I would say, I think he is a Hall of Famer. First ballot, I'm on the fence about, but I do think he is. Go ahead.
Does it really matter as long as he gets in the Hall of Famer?
No, not really. I don't
right? But the point I was going to make just a minute ago, Eli was a great long pass thrower. I mean, he had a lot of receivers, and of course, we know the offensive line was bad. He threw a lot of interceptions because he was trying to make plays. And what Coughlin did is what Matt said, was set him up with that play action pass. I mean, when you had Brandon Jacobs and you had Bradshaw that could break a big one anytime, and Brandon Jacobs that's going to run right over you and keep going. I mean, they had to respect this, and that opened up. Even though the receivers were not the greatest in the league, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully, because Cruz and Hicks were unbelievable. But what I'm saying is that they had to respect that running game, which was perfect for Eli Manning.
Yep. I miss those days, man, of Brandon Jacobs and Bradshaw.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? And Ernie brought up a good point, too, about Eli. He said, that during those times at the old stadium, man, that wind kicking up, that's even more impressive when you were throwing the ball. Because, man, everybody knows about them tunnels, man. Oof.
Rough.
Those were brutal.
Well, every quarterback will tell you that's throwing. It says the worst thing is the wind. Rain doesn't matter as much. The snow doesn't matter as much. It's that wind, because the accuracy really gets affected. Phil Simms was another one of the greatest people that could throw in the wind. He had a very tight spiral, and he could put the ball. And a lot of quarterbacks that come into MetLife, they have a lot of problems with accuracy because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let me go through some fan stuff here because we got like questions coming out all over the place. But we're on the Giants at the moment, so we'll get to their questions. But before I do that, somebody say fans pretty tough on Tiki. I'm okay with Tiki's all right in my book. I've forgiven him. He's good. He was a great Giant running back, one of their best of all time. He learned how to stop fumbling when he put the ball up towards his neck. I'm okay with it. Tiki, all right in my book. You're welcome here anytime. All right, so let's see. We got a lot of questions. So let's see. Cody wants to know, what are your thoughts on Daniel Jones? Mac, what do you think?
Daniel Jones, I think, could be a franchise quarterback, at least a solid quarterback for the Giants. He is a tough kid. He's got a great arm. He throws well under pressure. He brought him back against the Buccaneers. I mean, he's got everything that all the things that a great quarterback could be. He's only in his second year, so we really don't know. But if his rookie career is any indication, if he can hold on to the ball and not fumble that ball, I think the Giants are going to flourish under this guy.
What do you think, Matt? What do you think about Daniel Jones?
Listen, I love the kid. I was at the Buccaneers, his first start. I was at the game, and I got to see his first start, and I got to see that comeback, man. Let me tell you, first and foremost, shouts out to Giants fans for showing up and showing out in Tampa. It was like a home game down there.
That plate guy goes everywhere. The guy with license plates on his
license, neck. LPG, yeah. License plate guy, he goes everywhere. Listen, it was like a Giants home game down there. And Daniel Jones, if he can correct the fumbling issue, which is a very correctable issue, it's not like Mac, like you said, how accuracy is not a correctable issue. If you can't hit the water out of a boat, you can't hit the water out of a boat, Josh Allen. But fumbling is something you can correct. Tiki Barber we're talking about Tiki. He had a major fumbling issue to the point where he got benched. Remember, Coughlin said, sit your butt down for a half here and figure this out, you know? And so once he corrects that, man, Daniel Jones, did you know that in man coverage, he's in the top 10 in the NFL in accuracy and completion percentage against man coverage and things like that. I think with Darius Slayton growing another year into himself, I think with Tate playing a full year, I think Sterling Shepard needs to stay healthy, and I believe Evan Ingram is going to take this as his make or break here, and I believe he can really step it up if he stays. That's a big if, Evan Ingram, if he stays healthy. And though with those tools and with Saquon Barkley, I believe that Daniel Jones will take the Giants far and wide in the NFL, deep into the playoffs, and it's only a matter of time before he's hoisting that trophy.
See that, my man Matt. And I just realized on a side note that Mac's Big Guy Sports old logo sticker is missing.
Yeah, we're working on that. We're working on that.
Let me tell you about my thoughts on Daniel Jones, and I can tell you right now, I'm going to pat myself on the back on this forever, so it's never going away. So you go look on my Facebook page, dig back to the draft where Daniel Jones got drafted. And when Daniel Jones got drafted, I was on Facebook, you type in your messages. Oh, good pick, good pick. I said it was an amazing pick. And if you go find the thing, because I had scouted Daniel Jones before they took him. I was looking at the quarterbacks. I knew the Giants were going to take a quarterback. I didn't want Haskins because I felt he was a one-hit wonder with an Ohio State team that had a roster like an NFL team. So, I mean, you put anybody. So he was picked. If you go look on my Facebook, you got to dig far back. You'll see that I wrote that as a great pick. And after you see me say that, you will see about 122 comments from Giants fans telling me that it was garbage. They will not find another person that told me they liked that pick. It was terrible, terrible. Gettleman's got to go. What is he thinking? He's lost his mind. The Giants are like the Mets. They need to be sold. It was terrible. And I explained to people in that post, I said, no, it's not. Look at the numbers he put up. Look at the people that he's worked with. Look at the pedigree he's got. He's going through a system by a guy who's trained NFL quarterbacks. He's got the size. He can run. And most importantly, he went to Duke, and all great things come out of Duke. Everybody knows this. So I said this stuff. So I just want to say I loved Daniel Jones back then, and I'm not backing off of him now. And he will fix the fumble. They just have to teach him the tuck rule. Tuck, bring it up later. Don't hold it out there like a loaf of bread, because that's what the defenses are going at. And all you Giants fans that are coming around right now, I probably didn't know any of you guys back then, but don't come around and tell me you love that pick now, because I'll show you 110 posts of people who didn't like it.
And you know, Jim, it has a lot to do with the popularity of the school and the how many times these people are seen on TV. For a quick example, Phil Simms went to Morehead State. I didn't even know that was a college.
I still don't know it's a college.
Right. So he goes there and everybody's like, Phil who when he was drafted? Well, let me tell you, Bill Walsh wanted Phil Simms before we got him. And we picked him first, and he ended up with Joe Montana. And it's the same principle here. This guy didn't have a great receiving core. He didn't have a great team. But as you said, he learned under a system from a coach who actually helped Eli Manning and tutored Eli Manning in professional football. The system, how a quarterback reads, all that stuff was very important that people had no idea. I mean, I didn't even know Duke had a football team. I'm kidding. Anyway, they had a great basketball team. I'm kidding. But I'm just saying that you don't see them Duke on TV. Nobody saw Daniel Jones playing football.
I see Duke all the time.
That's you. But I'm saying the most of the fans are like, Duke football? What is Duke football? They only know about the college basketball team because they're so popular.
Maybe they're still thinking of Dave Brown because he went to Duke. Relax. It's not the same thing. But you hit it on the head, though. You hit it on the head. If Daniel Jones had went to Clemson, we wouldn't even had that comment. No one would have been complaining. It's just where he went.
Yeah. He didn't have any help down there at Duke either. I mean, he wasn't playing with any sort of even decent wide receiver down there at Duke. You know what I'm saying? 2-star guys, 1-star guys he had down there. Ton of drop passes, led the nation in drop passes. You know, it had a tough schedule, you know, ran down Clemson, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. They played Miami when they were still having a hot time at that season. Like,
let me ask you a question. How many people on Daniel Jones's Duke offensive line made it to the NFL?
Zero.
He's playing with an offensive line that's not even NFL ready. What are you talking about?
Zero.
Best he can do. Matt is on it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, shouts out to the Morehead State Eagles. I'm sorry these two guys don't respect you guys enough to know that you exist. I know you exist, and I love you. Okay?
Hey, did you look up that they were the Eagles? Be honest.
No, I watch basketball.
Oh,
basketball.
I didn't know. I mean, the only reason I know they have a football team is
the Division 1A rowing team or something. But
they've actually got some pretty good athletics at Morehead State, my man. You bet check it out now. You gotta look.
All I'm saying is from a fan's perspective, here's your first round pick, and you're saying Daniel Jones from Duke. What does he play center for? You know, and the same thing with Phil Simms. Morehead State. Are you kidding me? Where is Morehead State? And this is what the fans think, because the fans are used to watching these big players on television and saying, "Oh, that's the greatest quarterback in the league." Well, I'm telling you, he's not the greatest quarterback at all in Division I college, because you just haven't seen all the quarterbacks. So this is why when people like this come to the realization during the draft, oh my God, they picked Daniel Jones. Dwayne Haskins is the greatest quarterback out there. No, Dwayne Haskins played for Ohio State. That's why you've seen how good this guy is.
One season.
There you go.
Yep, and but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that if you dig into the research, the minute the pick hit, I put on Facebook, great pick. And then I got tore to shreds. People told me I know what the hell I was talking about, that he was a bum. He was the next Ryan Nassib. I was getting cut up. And I just want to say, not true, haters. That's all. So, a couple other questions. We got a lot of fan questions today, so we can get in. Cody said, what about your thoughts on Madden 21? Are we really not going to go into that today? All I will tell you is that I am starting a Big Guy Sports Madden 21 league, so keep an eye out for that, and an NBA 2K league, because we're going to make a gaming section on our website, but I'm doing it for the PlayStation 5. So when it comes out in a couple months on the PlayStation 4, you'll have to wait a little while, because I'm not doing it on the old console. Let's see. We got more questions. Who will be the Giants' new kicker? Cody says. Well, right now, Rojas is still the Giants' kicker. So, but if we want to talk about, we want to assume he's going to get cut. I hate to assume, because you know what they say. But, all right, Mac, if he gets cut, who's going to be the Giants' new kicker?
I'll tell you the truth. I have no idea what they're thinking. It's one of the most important positions on the team, because that'll get you in the Super Bowl. That'll get you a win if you get some good field position. There are some vets available out there. They have tried out teams have tried out soccer players. Teams have tried out all kinds of things to find that kicker. Because I'm telling you right now, if people think it's easy to kick a football 40 yards and there's a rush coming at you and the snap is bobbled and it's put down wrong, be accurate is very tough. So I have no idea who the next kicker is going to be, but I guarantee you if Rojas, which I would think that because he was arrested for drunk driving and hitting somebody like that he probably will not at least be on the team this year, just knowing the Giants. I think it's wide open, and I really don't know personally who that person would be.
Well, Matt, what about Stephen Gostkowski? Because normally when Bill Belichick cuts bait on somebody, there's a good reason. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be Gostkowski because of his link to Joe Judge. But they've got a couple of other guys out there. Like right now, last year, the Titans kicker Ryan Suckup, he was hurt. He came back. He had a bad go at it, 1 for 6. They put him back on IR because the knee was bad. He's going to come back. He's 33 years old, young guy, powerful leg, accurate kicker. He's always been reliable. But again, he tore that knee up last year. He couldn't plant. He couldn't kick with the other leg. His ankle was hurt. He had a rough go at it. He is available. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's Gostkowski just because of the link to Judge and you see what they're doing as far as bringing those guys in. You know, the thing about Rosas is the Giants tendered him for a second-round tender. You know what you understand? So we gotta figure out what they're gonna do with him. Are we gonna be compensated if he's not part of the team? If we have to cut him, what's gonna happen there? But you know, Suckup or Gostkowski would be my 2. Gostkowski would be my primary.
Well, the thing you got to factor in too that a lot of people have to think about is that even if the Giants decide to hang on to Rojas for whatever reason, they still need to get another kicker because the NFL is going to suspend him regardless.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's definitely sitting at least 4 games. Exactly. I mean, he was drunk driving and hit a car going 100 miles an hour.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Allegedly. This doesn't seem to be much up in the air, but it's a pretty safe bet that he's going to miss some games regardless of whether we keep him or not. So somebody's got to come in. And I could tell you if somebody comes in like a Gostkowski, let's say, and I don't know if Gostkowski would sign on a temp basis, knowing that after 4 games, Rojas would be back. But if he did and he came in and he was crushing it, you might never see Rojas suit up again. So
right.
A couple other things. Cody mentions, it breaks my heart when he mentions his name. He says, I sure do miss David Wilson. He was going to be such a talented running back for the Giants and those injuries, man. He was going to be a good one. Breaks my heart. Cody, I'm not going to put the Phil Sims comment up on here because I don't want people to tear you up. Ernie mentions, remember Daniel Jones's first game? He took a ton of hits from Shaq Barrett and still toughed it out and won the game. And there was no Saquon that game. People forget that.
Gallman got the start.
Let's see. Cody wanted Haskins. Yeah, Cody Haskins is not good. I'm willing to put my I don't have much reputation yet, but
4 wide receivers on that team are in the NFL now. 4 of them that Haskins played with are in the NFL.
I'm going to put it on the record right now that Haskins will not be the Redskins' starting quarterback in 2020.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Guaranteed. Jones is better than Garoppolo. Garoppolo, I'm not that impressed about. Yep, Tyrone mentioned Dave Brown came out of Duke. Ernie mentioned that Daniel Jones put on 9 pounds of muscle. As long as he can move still, I don't care how much muscle he puts on.
He can move.
Who's the next? What player do you want to see in the New York Giants in next year's draft? It's too early for me personally to answer that. I haven't even looked at the player. I don't even know if they're going to play college football. I got to see him play college football first.
All right.
I don't know. So that was some questions. So let's move on to our next thing because we're going to do the Giants the first hour and then get to the Jets the second hour because you got to have Jet love too. Justin deserves that. He's at every show. So not that this is like breaking news or anything, but Curtis Martin came out and said, and I think if you know Curtis Martin, you respect him, right? Curtis Martin's a good dude. Curtis Martin came out and said the Giants should take care of Barkley now instead of waiting. Yeah. Makes sense to me. I mean, you're going to pay him either in 2 years, you're going to pay him the most money in the league, or you could just give it to him now. And then you'll have a better, clearer picture on what the deal is with your cap. Let me just read a little bit of this so you have it for your details. Hall of Fame running back Curtis Martin says when you have a threat like that, he's just a move or a broken tackle away from a big play every time he touches the ball. He's one of the most dangerous guys in the NFL with the ball in his hands. You have to keep guys around like that. Barkley's in line to become the NFL's highest paid running back before the 2021 season. The Giants do not have to pay him now. They can wait 2 years, but it would be nice to pay him now. One cautionary tale about paying people too early they referenced was the Rams paying Todd Gurley, handed him a 4-year, $60 million extension with $45 million guaranteed before his fourth season. Barkley's going into his third. And then he turned out to have major issues, never earned any of that money, and signed a 1-year, $5.5 million deal with the Falcons. So, and Martin says to that, when it was brought up, you're not going to get it right all the time. But the only thing you could do is go on the track record. At the end of the day, I think as a GM, you have to pay Saquon. Saquon's different. Is currently, and then I'm turning it over to you guys, Ezekiel Elliott makes $15 million a year. Christian McCaffrey is the highest paid at $16 million a year. So do you pay Barkley the 17 now or you wait?
Well, from this coming from Curtis Martin, I don't know how many people have watched him run either on the Pats or the Jets. This guy was electric. I mean, he was one of the best running backs in the history of football. I mean, if you get a chance, if you've never seen this guy run, go up on YouTube and watch some of his games. He's an unbelievably tough, fast running back with great instincts. For him to say this is to me carries a little bit of weight. I mean, Barkley really hasn't said a word about this because he says, I still have something to prove. This is what makes his running back so great. I mean, Barkley reminds me a lot, not only of Sanders on the field, but off the field. Very soft-spoken, doesn't come out and make issues about anything. I mean, Barry Sanders, if you ever get a chance, another video I would love you guys to go check out is when Sanders and Barkley are interviewing each other about their running styles, and they compare their running styles. But when you hear them talk to each other, there's a great respect for Barkley to Sanders. Yes, sir. I thank you. I mean, he's very he's not offensive. He's not has a big ego that needs to be stroked. He's the kind of guy that's going to go out there, be a great leader. He's a great leader in practice. I mean, this guy is really, if he doesn't get hurt, this could be one of the greatest running backs in history of football. He's that dangerous. Yes,
absolutely. No, you're completely right, man. This guy has all the tools to do it, and he's going to be the one carrying our team and helping Daniel Jones for years and years to come. And the thing about Saquon Barkley is he didn't even play a full season last year and still went for over 1,000 yards. Okay, 217 carries, still went over 1,000 yards, still had 6 touchdowns, still had 52 catches, missed 6 games. Okay, so I don't know if they pay him this year as far as like during the season. You know, the Maras and they really don't do contracts during the season and stuff like that. They really tend to kind of stay away from that. It would set a good precedent for the rest of the team and the younger guys if they go ahead and pay him. And so these guys see, okay, if we do our job and we're good professionals and we're not flashy and we don't cause issues, they're going to take care of us. If we're flashy and we cause issues, we're on video in Paris and we're doing all this dumb stuff, they're going to ship us out of here. So you could really set the tone and set the tempo for your team and your payroll. Just get him paid, get him out of the way, because you're not going to let him walk. If you pay him now, you could probably save a couple dollars as opposed to what you'll have to pay him in 2 years when the cap is up in the roof. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? We might be paying him what they look at now is like a quarterback salary now. We might be paying Saquon Barkley later on down the road. Christian McCaffrey's already making $16 million a year. Okay?
Yep.
As far like you guys mentioned Todd Gurley, I just want to touch on that, the Todd Gurley thing. Todd Gurley tore his ACL in college. Todd Gurley had bad ankle injuries in high school. He came in, he had a couple good years with the Rams, yes, because he's uber talented, but they knew he had this degenerative knee issue. Okay, and so for the fact of them, after his third year, going into his fourth, knowing that fourth year is where these running backs tend to drop off, historically speaking, I think it was a bad move on the Rams' part, and they're paying for that. And good on Todd Gurley and his agent for getting that money up front. I mean, he's not going to get any of it now, but at the end of the day,
$45 million.
He got the $45 million guaranteed. So what? I mean, do you think he cares? He's back home in Atlanta, in Georgia. He's going to play football for the Falcons for a year. They're going to give him a chance. We're going to see what happens. But Saquon Barkley, I agree with Curtis Martin. I think we go ahead and pay him, set the precedent for the roster, get him locked in, and we won't even have to deal with, Saquon might hold out or he doesn't want to come to camp without a contract, or we don't want to hear none of that.
He doesn't
come to Saquon Barkley, and he's not. We don't want it to get to that. You see what I'm saying?
Well, Matt brings up a great point about agency. This is the thing that we don't know about. Who is his agent? What does his agent want? What is the percentage? You know, they get a certain percentage of the signing bonus, of course. Mm-hmm. So that's what I worry about. I don't worry about Saquon going out and going to the social media complaining and stuff. This is all going to be behind the scenes. You know, I bring up Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott isn't coming out and saying, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not. That's his agent. That's the Cowboys. That's the only thing I worry about.
Right, but that's why you hire the agent to speak for you.
Exactly.
But Prescott shouldn't be the guy coming out and talking. It should be the agent. And I want to just touch on what Matt said really fast. Well, two things. To what you said, the agents in football are not like the agents in baseball. The agents in baseball are come out and they just straight out say, we're not signing until you make my guy the highest paid in the league. They don't do that in football because there's a cap. And to what Matt said, I think Gurley cares. I think if you're a competitor, I think that people always care when they can't perform to their ability. I'm sure he's got a competitive streak. I'm sure it bothers Gurley that he's not able to run at 100%. And Tyrone says, and then I'll turn it back to Matt, Tyrone says Jay-Z's his agent from Rock Nation.
Yeah, no, her name is Kim Maley. She works for Rock Nation.
Okay.
And she's the first ever female agent to represent a player drafted in the top 10 of the NFL draft.
Right. I would think that personally, not taking anything away from her, it's really, if you're her, it's not really that complicated. Saquon, every time one of the best players out of position comes up for free agency in football, they go to the top. So she's just got to make sure that Saquon gets more money than McCaffrey. And Justin made a good point. If you think about this, probably a lot of people don't notice. The best two running backs arguably in the league, because you want to put Elliott in there too, are McCaffrey and Barkley. And Elliott. Gettleman drafted McCaffrey and Barkley.
That's right.
Keep that in mind.
Well, that always, and we've gotten these discussions before about Gettleman. Gettleman knows talent, man, in the draft. Mm-hmm. This guy knows what he's doing when he drafts. The scouting department of the Giants that don't get enough credit are a great scouting department. If you ever want to check it out, look it up. These guys have been doing a great job of getting the talent. The only thing is we haven't had the coaches to develop that talent yet. Mm-hmm. So hopefully with Judge and this great coaching staff he has, when they make some of these draft picks, they can develop these draft picks into great players. And what you said, Jim, about Gurley is 100% correct. To be a great athlete, to be a great pro athlete, you've got to want to be the best. And I think it tore him up when the Rams were making that playoff run, and he's over there on the bike trying to loosen up. I mean, you're not out there with the team, and this is when maybe the biggest game of your life. That had to tear him up.
I've never heard Gurley as a guy who figured, well, I got my money. I don't care. I'm not taking Matt. I know that's not how Matt met it. He met. Well, he he got paid, but I see Gurley. It's got to tear him up inside.
Oh yeah,
because you're competitive and you want to play. We've seen plenty of NFL guys who got their money and didn't care anymore, like Jamarcus Russell. He didn't give a crap anymore once he got paid. He started putting on weight, and he's like, I don't care anymore. I got paid. Now where is he? Couldn't even get a job in Vince McMahon's league. So, you see what happens. So, with that being said, I think Barkley will get paid before 2 years is up. But keep in mind that unlike baseball, football has a lot of ways for you to keep a player even if you haven't gotten a contract yet with the
tags and tenders
tag and everything. Yeah. So we'll see what happens on that end. Really quick as we wrap up on the NFC side of things, I sent you guys this link the other day about the NFC East, about key position battles, juicy plot lines and stuff. So I want to just throw a few out here. Dallas, you look at Dallas, right? We'll start with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys have a couple big-time position battles going on right now, as most teams, I guess, do going into camp. With their center left guard position, a battle between Connor Williams, Joe Looney, and Connor McGovern. And then at the cornerback position, you got Trayvon Diggs, Awuzie, and Anthony Brown. I bet you're impressed that I pronounced Awuzie right, aren't you? A little bit, you got to be honest. So I got to see, what do you think about these guys? What do you think about, do you think Trayvon Diggs, he had a first-round grade, fell to the second round. They let their main cornerback left, went and signed with Miami, Byron Jones. Do you think Diggs has a chance to start this year? You think he gets in there right away?
I think he has a great chance. I mean, the one of the worst things about the Dallas has a great front four. They can put pressure on the quarterback. Their linebacking crew, for the most part, if not injured, is a good crew. Their defensive secondary is where they've been hurting for the last few years. I mean, they have to put up 30 points on the board to have a shot at winning a lot of these games. So I think this young man has an excellent chance of coming in there and being the starter right off the rip.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think Diggs, with his experience, he was a 1,200-yard wide receiver in high school. He was a wide receiver when he got to Alabama. He's played offense, and they moved him over to defense. He's caused fumbles. He was a pass returner. He's a special teams guy. He's a hitter, man. That guy's a striker as a senior. 12 starts as a senior, 37 tackles, 3 interceptions. So I think he's definitely going to step in for the Cowboys. He's going to play a big role. He's going to play a big role for them. I mean, come on, man. He wants to. He grew up with Stephon Diggs. They're related. They're brothers. Mm-hmm. And so just grow. They weren't hanging out in the yard, not playing football. You know what I'm saying? So he's been spending his time running around, one of the best to do it in the league right now, as far as Stephon Diggs. So he's got the pedigree. He's got the experience. He comes from a pro program, a great program, and I think he's going to play a big, big role for the Cowboys this year. He's going to be tough.
And I want to also say the Giants are going to have their hands full trying to cover CeeDee Lamb. That dude is fast. He's got speed. He's got hands. And to be honest with you, the Cowboys have a good wide receiving crew. So we talk about the Giants' young secondary, and we talk after you get past Baker and Bradbury, and I'll get to Baker after we get through this little thing here. You talk about Love, talk about Haley, you talk about McKinney, you talk about Holmes, you talk about all these guys. You're going to see what they're made of, because the Cowboys have as good a wide receiving trio as you got. Because Lamb is going to be your number 3 to start his career, just to start. He's obviously a future on the outside. That's a problem, because the dude can flat out fly.
Yeah, and we'll see. And we'll see what kind of pro he's going to be. I agree he'll start off in a slot, because you got Cooper, and they do have a good receiving core, and that will let him break in going up against not the primary cornerback, but the slot cornerback or the safety on that side. That will give him a lot of leeway in running his routes and breaking some long ones. So it's set up for him to have a great year this year.
Absolutely. Let's go to the Giants. So Andrew Thomas obviously is an impact rookie because of where he plays. I will touch on him. I'm going to leave McKinney alone for a little bit, because I think McKinney is going to start. I'm not really worried about him. Andrew Thomas, you say number 4 pick. So some people say automatic starter, but some other articles you read say maybe they should break him in slow. I disagree with that. Automatic starter for you, Andrew Thomas, just throw him right in, right? You can't put him on the bench and let him wait.
You gotta remember, Jim, that he's next to a relatively very young guard there too, with Gonzalez, and that means a lot on run blocking and pass blocking. So, I mean, if Solder was to stay at left tackle and say they could put a vet on right tackle and bring these rookies in slow, I wouldn't really have a problem with that. I think Thomas should start right away, especially if in camp and in their practices and scrimmages, as he shows that he could stand up against some of the greatest defensive ends in the league we're going to be playing this year. And he's blocked against a lot of these young guys before in college. But again, different schemes, different strategies. How fast can he learn the system? How fast can he learn what he has to do in the system with another young guard next to him? It's going to be a big challenge for Colombo, but we got the right offensive line coach to do something like this.
Matt, let me ask you a question. I guess Tyrone agrees with me what I was just going to ask. Am I the only Giants fan who thinks just put him at left tackle? I mean, I know you're going to come back and say, well, he played some right tackle at Georgia, but we both know that he's going to be the left tackle of the future. Yeah. And we're going to cut Solder next year. So why put him at right tackle? Just put him at left. Why mess with the kid? Am I the only one who understands?
Probably because we don't have any options at right tackle right now, unless Nick Gates or one of those guys. You can't take a guy that's been playing left tackle for the last 12 years and move him over to the right side.
What he did last year?
Plug the rookie. I mean, it was bad. It was very bad. Listen, plug the kid in right side. If it doesn't work, we know it's not going to work out with Solder on the left, but you have to give him the opportunity to bounce back from last year. Okay? Start him at right tackle, where he started his college career and played a lot during his college career. Andrew Thomas played a ton of snaps at right tackle.
I brought it up. I know you're going
to at me. It's a fact of the matter, and he did it for one of the best running games in the nation in Georgia. Okay, against some of the top talent in the country in the SEC. He can do it on the right side, and he was a mauler on I'm talking about a road grader coming off that left side. That guy bounces around like a pinball. He'll knock that outside line, that will linebacker be out of there. He's onto the mic. He's up to the next level. I've got no problem.
If he starts at right tackle, then moves
right tackle next and move to left. I don't think that they should just jump him out there left tackle. I don't think it would hurt, but I believe I believe they'll start him at right, Solder at left. I believe Solder will be benched at some point. Thomas will move to the left, and one of our other guys like a Nick Gates or Chad Slade, Matt or Perth. Even one of the younger guys, Matt Perth, one of the younger guys, if he develops enough, fast enough. The issue with Perth was the fact that he didn't have any experience coming into college. He just started playing football at UConn. You know what I'm saying? The senior year of high school and then went to UConn. So I just – to say
Tyrone said to you, he said Solder made Flowers look like an all-pro.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't watching football, sure. I mean, Eric Flowers was a turnstile at left tackle, and as bad as Solder was, he was an upgrade from Flowers. Believe that.
Well, there's one guy you're forgetting in these guys in this discussion, and that's Fleming. Fleming is a good, solid tackle. Yes, and I'm going to tell you right now, Matt, this is what I think. And this is what I think is going to happen. They're going to put Fleming at right tackle. That's where they're going to start. They're going to take the experienced guy who's played in big games and was a solid tackle. They're going to put him at right tackle. Purdy starting not just because of his inexperience, but where he played at college. UConn is not a football powerhouse by any means.
Wait, you think they're going to put Fleming at right tackle to start?
This is what I think is going to happen. I think, and this would be my thoughts. Fleming's going to start at right tackle. Soldier's going to start at left tackle, maybe for the first couple of games, depending on how fast Thomas comes. That all is going to depend on him. But I can almost guarantee, I'm making a prediction. Fleming's starting at right tackle. Now, between Soldier and Thomas, I don't know. It all depends on how fast Thomas comes up to challenge to make sure that he can play that. Again, the biggest thing I worry about with Thomas going out there at left tackle, I don't even think they're going to mess with him at right tackle, is having that young Gonzalez at guard. He really took a big step back last year. He seemed confused. And if that whole side is young and confused, we're going to have some problems. So that's the only reason why I think Soldier will be starting at left tackle for the first few games if Thomas ain't ready. But watch Fleming going to right tackle this year.
Yeah, I'm going to agree and disagree with you. I agree. Justin says, was he a right tackle? Yes, Thomas played a lot of right tackle at Georgia before he moved to left tackle. Mm-hmm. I agree with a lot of what Matt said and what Max says, but I disagree somewhat. I'm more with Tyrone and Nathan. I don't think you mess with him. I think Thomas is a left tackle. He comes in, he starts from day one at left tackle. I don't need to see Solder there. They can run. I'd rather see people run around him on the right side than the left side. So at least Daniel Jones sees it coming. So I don't mind that. I don't think you mess with him. You remember when he came in, and I'm not saying necessarily that this would have changed the guy's career because you are what you are. But when Eric Flowers came in, they didn't put him at his natural position at first. No. And he never recovered from that. Now, I'm not trying to say that Eric Flowers is Thomas, but Eric Flowers was a big-time prospect.
He came from a garbage program.
Oh, my God. Miami.
He was horrible coming out of here, Jim. I said it. I say it all the time. I would never, ever, ever draft another offensive lineman from the ACC because of the low level of quality competition in that league.
Oh, my God. I can't.
I'll agree with that.
I said it.
Either one of you. You don't. You like Morehead State, and, well, you're.
But listen.
To you, Mac.
At the right tackle, though, man, honestly and truly, don't be surprised by the time they go through camp and all that stuff like that. This kid out of Nebraska, Nick Gates, man, this kid's 6'6", 320, monster of a guy, and he played really well coming down the stretch when they plugged him in last year at right tackle. Listen, they could go into camp with Nick Gates at the starting right tackle and tell Cam Fleming, these guys, hey, you got to earn a spot if you want to play. Because the thing about Fleming is he's going to be our swing guy. He can play guard and tackle, so can Gates. So we've got swing guys on that right side. I think Hernandez is going to be a lot better on the left side.
Better be, or he's not going to be a giant after this year.
Then we have this kid Shane Lemieux, you know what I'm saying, that we brought in as well, who's going to play. Huh?
He's going to be a center, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, he's going to play center. He's going to play center for us eventually, but he's a guard, and he's a giant of a man as well. He reminds me a lot of Richie Incognito. He's got that same frame, that same demeanor, that same kind of – hopefully he's not a psychopath like Incognito was. But I like where the Giants are heading with their offensive line.
I think forget about Matt Pert, please. That kid's got stuff in him.
He's got time. He's going to be one of those that we're going to be hanging on for so long. And we're going to be like, is he ready yet? Is he ready yet? Is he ready yet?
Like he put a prediction, Matt Pert will start next year. He will be an everyday player next year.
At some point, probably, yeah.
Maybe this year, depends how it goes. But I was just trying to say, as a close out, I want to say there was a time in college football where if you didn't go to Miami, you didn't matter. I just like to throw that out there.
This is true.
Time. It's the program's fault. It's the program's fault. I always say you go out and get the troublemakers for college because they win games and they try to clean up the program. Don't clean up the program. I like my trouble.
Not that one.
Bring my troublemakers to Miami. Let them party. Let them do what they want to do behind the scenes. I don't care. Let them, I don't care. We win games. That's what I care about. It's college. Let's win some games. I'm just telling you. Listen,
drugs are bad, Jim. Drugs are bad.
Not in college. All right. So as a clip, not in college. All right. So let's finish up the NFC East and then let's get to the AFC. So the Eagles. Some interesting picks. I mean, the Reagor pick at wide receiver made complete sense just because if there was ever a team that I got Matt still laughing about it in college. If there was ever a team that needed a wide receiver, it was definitely the Eagles. I mean, there was a time last year late in the season they were playing with most teams would have been 6th and 7th string wide receiver. And then they picked up Jalen Hurts, which left a lot of people, scratch. I don't care what the coach and GM said about Hurts. I don't buy any of it. Crap. Save your crap, Doug Peterson, for someone who cares because you're a pathological liar. Hurts to come in and be like Taysom Hill and mess around. That was a bad pick. You know it. You're trying to save face. I don't care about you. You're in Philly. It's dirty. I don't care. I said it on the air. So what do you think about Reagor and Hurts?
Well, Reagor, of course, is a lot like Deshaun Jackson, and Deshaun Jackson gets hurt a lot. So, I mean, not just last year either. So, I mean, if he's got hands, he's a great fill-in. And maybe possibly if injury, maybe next year Deshaun Jackson is looking for another team if he's that good. As far as Hurts go, I don't understand saying that you're going to take your best player, supposedly the quarterback, off the field to put another quarterback in to run a trick play. I mean, if that's your answer to making the team a lot more electric, you don't have a good offense to begin with. Wentz is a good quarterback. He gets hurt. That's why they drafted Hurts. And if he does get hurt, then maybe you have a quarterback that can come in there and do a few different things. But I don't believe in taking Tom Brady off the field to put in a guy that can run with the ball and do some kind of gadget plays. That's your quarterback. That's what he's there for. You don't draft quarterbacks to change your offense. You bring in a quarterback that can give you offense.
So you're basically saying you're completely, before we turn it over to Matt, you're not in favor of what New Orleans does with Hill and Brees.
Not at all. The only thing that they do for New Orleans is because Brees is getting up in age, maybe gives them a little rest. That's all. That's all about.
What happens when you draft a wide receiver from TCU? You want to ask the Jets in 2011 with Jeremy Curley? What happens when you draft a wide receiver from TCU? What about Josh Boyce? What about Josh Doxson? What about what's his name? Colby Listenby, the Bills drafted in the 5th round a couple years ago.
He's going deep with names.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you go draft a wide receiver from TCU, you've made a bad pick. Okay? So Jalen Reagor,
a bust.
There were better wide receivers available when they took him.
Yeah.
Okay. Much better wide receivers available.
There were better quarterbacks available when they took Hurts.
They were better. Okay. Right. So you go draft a guy like Jalen Reagor just because you want to re-emulate Laurie and these guys in Philly want to re-emulate what they had with Deshaun Jackson for so many years. But that was do or die. It was either home run or no run. Okay. And to bring him in for Wentz, man, they should have brought Wentz a guy that can run routes, that can make those intermediate routes, that can run the short routes, that's not afraid to go over the middle, that's not built like a stick figure. TCU, wide open offense, 5 wide receivers the entire way. They're slinging the ball 50, 60 times a game. They're scoring 80 points a game. That's not reality. That's not football, what they play over there. What is that, the Big 12 or whatever?
Big Sky, I have no idea what they call it.
Arena football.
That's not real football. Oklahoma State University, Baylor, TCU, those guys don't play real football. They play backyard football and they sling the ball around. As far as that Reagor pick is concerned, I'm glad Philly picked him in the first round because it's a terrible pick and good for them. Jalen Hurts, winner. Everywhere he's getting. He's one of those Tim Tebow guys like, oh, he was amazing in college, great winner. Great player, great teammate, hard worker, all that stuff, but he's just not going to have the sauce to cut it as a quarterback in the NFL. And that's just the way I see that. He'll be a utility guy. He'll be able to come in and secure the ball for you and run wildcat stuff if they're still doing that, or run option stuff, RPO. He can do that. But he's not going to be the one to step in like a Nick Foles if Carson Wentz go down and take the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl. Or even to the playoffs for that matter.
Well, okay, you say that, but a lot of people said that about Jackson with the Ravens too. I mean, a lot of people thought that he was just a winner and a running quarterback. So I'm not saying he's Jackson. I'm saying that if you're going to bring in a quarterback like that, Matt, you've got to, and you want to, you're going to have to change your whole offensive system. They don't run that kind of system with the Eagles. Wentz is mobile, but he ain't no Hurst. So just to bring him in there to do trick plays, you can do that with a running back if you want to do that, can throw the ball. Yeah. So that's why I don't agree with them taking Hurst just for that purpose. If you're saying he's a second string quarterback, if Wentz gets hurt, he's coming in, he's our future, different story.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that, and Tyrone, I think you're misunderstanding. I didn't say Hurts wasn't good. I don't think he was good value for that pick. I don't think he was good value for that pick at all. I don't think he's as good as you think he is. I mean, there's a reason he wasn't a first-round pick. I don't think he's good, but whatever. I've seen a lot of Alabama quarterbacks fall on their face.
Because they're so propped.
Yeah, he's putting Hurts in. No way you could put him in class with Jackson, Mahomes, Watson. Come on.
Crazy, dude. Listen, that guy's so proud
job at Alabama.
Yeah. You've got all-pro offensive line. You've got 3 first-round wide receivers running around for you. You've got an all-pro defense sending 9-10 guys a year. You're sending backups to the NFL off of that defense sometimes and off of those wide receivers and running backs. Backup running backs that have 112 carries under their belt are getting drafted in the second and third round from Alabama because they know that these guys can play. All right, so yeah, these quarterbacks get propped up. A.J. McCarron is one. Who was the kid after him? I forget, John David, whoever. And they've had so many quarterbacks come through, and you're like, oh, that's going to be a good one. He's going to be a good one. He's going to be a good one. Jalen Hurts, he got his butt kicked out of town by Tua, went to Oklahoma, had a great year. Why? All pros in Oklahoma at wide receiver, at running back, at offensive line.
And you know, Matt, something to think about, too, is that normally quarterbacks that run with the ball, I'm saying normally, not all of them, they're doing that because they can't throw on time. They can't fit that ball in that little window. They're running to get the receivers more open or just to run with the ball because they can't find nobody open. That is something from a system that, a college system that's building their whole scheme around that running quarterback because of that. It's not that the guy is, he's running because he's scrambling around because he has nobody open. It's because he can't fit it in them tight windows like a normal quarterback. He can't throw on time like a normal quarterback. So he's going to use what he has to make himself a winner.
They should. He's not in Washington because he's better than Haskins. I'll give him that.
He might be. Listen, I think he's not the most accurate passer. We know that from what he did in college. He's not one of those guys that's going to hit it right in stride. He's got an arm. He's got a cannon. He can sling it. He'll drop it in there on the basket for you when that guy's wide open. But he's not the guy that's going to be able to string it down the sideline for you or put it in the hole on the corner. He's not that guy. He's not that guy.
Not yet.
Yeah. I just want to put Speedy Pete on the record today. Speedy Pete, if you don't know, he is one of the producers for the Worldwide Sports Radio Network who does the little, cut videos and decides what clips to cut and put on, like yesterday's video where Matt got all hyped up on Adderall or something or whatever he was doing, putting on the video. Speedy Pete, you should probably cut the TCU video because, Matt just named like 4 TCU players that nobody else has ever heard of, which means he's got that knowledge in there. So I go for a TCU cut today. I'm putting a lot of pressure on the TCU, and then we'll tag it on TCU's college page so that they know that they're.
I'm going to get so much Texas hate.
Very well. So one more team, and then we're going to go to. Then I have one thing about Baker, and I got to give the last half hour to the Jets because I got to get into this Adam Gase Jamal Adams discussion. So the Redskins, I just want to ask one thing. I don't want to get too much into it. Chase Young, a lot of hype. Giants wanted him. Everybody wanted him. Giants probably take him if they have the number 2 pick or number 1 or one of those. Chase Young, are you completely sold that he just has a monster first year? Are you 100% sold on it?
No, not yet. I think he's an extremely great talent, and he's going on to a defensive line that's very, very good. So they're going to rotate him in out, and they're going to keep him fresh, And at the fourth quarter, fourth quarter, when them offensive linemen start getting a little tired, start getting a little worn down, Chase Young's going to shine a little bit there because he's got that speed. He's got that athleticism that's going to let him get even with the offensive linemen and they get by him. So that I think is a good pick. Is he going to be another Clowney, though? Well, I mean, I don't know yet. We really don't know until we see what happens. But before you push on to Matt, I got one prediction for you, okay? Mm-hmm. There is no way Hastings is going to start this year. You're going to look at Kyle Allen that they brought over from Carolina. He's going to be the starting quarterback. For the
I like that. That's nice. He slid that in there. I mean, Rivera brought him over for a reason.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about Chase Young? Am I going to be watching Chase Young run around Nate Solder like he's stuck in cement all year?
If Nate Solder is the starting left tackle by the time we play the Redskins, then yes, that's probably exactly what you'll be watching. But, listen, though, I mean, Chase Young, unlimited upside. I think his ceiling is beyond the sky. I think that he has all the tools to be really good, really successful, and he's got enough help around him in Washington to where they're not going to be double and triple teaming him off the jump because they don't really understand what he's going to be capable of. You look at the Nagurski Award, the Bronco Nagurski Award, some of the guys that's won that award that he won in college. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at a Warren Sapp, you're looking at a Charles Woodson, you're looking at a Champ Bailey, you're looking at a Luke Kuechly. Great players, Bradley Chubb, Josh Allen. Great players have won this award because they stand – those are guys that you know are going to come into the league and are going to just light it up for you and they're going to make an impact. They're going to make a difference. And by the middle of the season, his rookie season, they're going to be double-teaming Chase Young and stuff like that. But I don't think that – I really think that's why the Giants drafted Andrew Thomas is to offset Chase Young. Is really why I think they did that. They did that to offset Chase Young for the next 10 years. And because they knew if we don't bring someone in now that's going to be able to throw this kid around, which we know Andrew Thomas can do because we saw it at the Senior Bowl. We saw it all the time. They did it at the All-American games when they were in high school coming into college. Andrew Thomas has always gotten the best of Chase Young, and he's going to continue to do so for the next decade. I'm not impressed with it. I really don't give a damn who they drafted in Washington because at the end of the day, their offense is going to be irrelevant.
Oh, I like it. All right. So one more giant point. And let me just mention him before that. When I was saying the thing about the Miami Hurricanes with the college and the whole drug thing, I was just joking, people. I don't want any fans to make it into a global issue. That don't bother me if some football players smoke a little pot. It's not the end of the world. Let's calm down. If they don't, in a few years from now, you're going to go to Walmart and you're going to see cigarettes and weed. Because the government's going to figure out how to tax it. So everyone calm down. Nobody's trying to create controversy on the Big Guy Sports Network with these Looney Tunes will start sending me messages like, oh, my gosh, you want Miami to get all the weed smokers? Well, listen, they probably all smoking it anyway. All I said was the truth. All right, so I want to bring out a thing about Baker. And I don't want to go too long on this because I do want to give the Jets the last half hour of the show. But I want to talk about what I'm going to call a broken justice system for a minute, if that's okay, when it comes to Baker. Because Baker gets arrested. We catch everyone up real quick. They all know this. Baker gets arrested. They get ready to charge him. His lawyers come out and say it wasn't him. There's no witnesses to back this up. At the time of them saying this, we're told that they have 30 days to charge him. Supposedly. Now, I don't know the laws. I'm not a lawyer. It's been more than 30 days. And they haven't dropped the charges, which has kept Baker at arm's length from the Giants. They're not letting him come in. They're not letting him get on videos with the team. Basically, they're ruining this kid's season. Now, if he did it, that's one thing. But if he didn't, the justice system, in my opinion, is failing Baker. Because here is a man trying to make a living, trying to play football, and he's being held at bay by his team. And I'm not blaming the Giants because the justice system refuses to make a decision. And he's losing time away. Matt, as we always go around the horn here, is the justice system hurting Baker right now because they're not making a firm decision?
Well, Jim, this happens all the time, not just to Baker. This happens to a lot of.
We're talking.
I understand, but I just want to point out that I don't think they're picking on Baker. I think this is just a system flaw. We're talking about Baker because he's a Giant. Look, I'm not sure. I've not read anywhere where it says that he is not talking to his teammates, that he does not have a playbook, that he does not have anything he's doing with the Giants. I've not read that anywhere.
They told him to stay away, though, when they
right.
He's not at the facility.
Their official statement is Baker should stay away and handle his own personal problems before he comes back. But I have not read anywhere where it says he doesn't have a playbook, that he hasn't talked to other players, that maybe the defensive back coach has not been online talking to him, because I really believe that's happening. This is going to be maybe your starting cornerback next year if these charges are dropped. And for the Giants not to communicate with Baker in any way is just ridiculous to me. So I know deep down that's happening. But as far as a point of 30 days to charge or drop, listen, there are so many extensions. I know I have a few lawyers in the family, defense and former prosecutor. There are so many games they play with people's lives to extend things, to get the judge, and it's almost automatic. All they got to do is request it, and the judge will say, okay, your request is granted. I'll give you another extension. And with the way the economy is now, with the virus and courts being closed and all this other stuff going on, it's got to be slowing down the process too, Jim. So I don't think they're picking on Baker. I just think it's a fact that happens to everybody. And with the way the situation is out there right now, it's slowing things down.
Well, let me ask Matt a question then. If we're going off of what you said, Mac, and that the legal system can just request extension after extension, and we've seen it. We've seen other people in celebrity positions where, like look at Lori Loughlin with the college scam. This thing's been going on for a year before she finally reached a plea. So let me ask you, Matt, in a country where it's innocent until proven guilty, or that's how it's supposed to be, shouldn't the Giants then let Baker come back while they're screwing around? So, because if they want to just keep extending, why should Baker miss a season? Mac, you said, and I want to hear from Matt, but you said next season. You said, no, Baker's supposed to be a starter this season. He should not lose that opportunity unless he's going to be taken to court and proven guilty.
Yeah. Well, if you're under the impression that we stand on the ethos that you're innocent until proven guilty, it's not true. You understand? It's not true, because if you were innocent until proven guilty, you wouldn't get arrested first before they knew if you did the crime. You understand? You wouldn't get arrested and charged if you're just allegedly doing something. They would have to know, yes, it was DeAndre Baker. Yes, it was Quentin Dunbar. Let's go pick them up. Let's go investigate. Let's arrest them, see what's going on. They're saying Baker was in another room playing Madden and a ruckus went off, and he left the party without incident is what they're saying. They're saying they have two sworn witness affidavits saying that Baker never pointed a gun at anyone or robbed anyone. Okay. The holdup right now is the courts because of the COVID situation. They're not having any legal proceedings like that. But that's really a lame excuse because.
Do you agree with Nathan saying that it's on Baker's attorneys to put pressure on?
Yeah. The attorney, Patel, his attorney, he should be asking for dismissal at this point. He should go in there and put in a motion for dismissal and say either you guys come with charges and present a case, or you dismiss this so my client can get back about his normal life. DeAndre Baker has no criminal history. None. No arrest, no trouble in college, no trouble in high school, nothing. Okay, he contributes to his community down there in Miramar and Miami, all over the place. He helps out in New York with a lot of charities, stuff for schools, things like that. This is not a guy that strikes me much as one that's going to go down there and do this kind of nonsense. The more I look at it, he could have very well done it. I doubt he did, based on what everyone's saying and based on the story that's coming out now about him being in the room and they were playing Madden and there's proof and this and that.
So let me put you on the spot. Yes or no? Should the Giants have him come and be part of camp until they figure out what the hell's going on?
No, because you don't let him get ingratiated into the system, and then next thing you know, you have to change him out on the fly. Give those opportunities in the meetings and the virtual meetings and the workouts and stuff like that to the person that might be having to replace him for the season, whether it be Beal, Ballantyne, whoever we're going to put out there to play on the outside. Love, whoever it might be, I think Love's going to stay in the safety area. I think he's going to stay corner, or like a slot or safety, and just kind of move it on that way. But I wouldn't, let him get the playbook, work with him one-on-one, don't have him in team activities, and don't count him as being your starter because regardless of what happens, the league can still suspend him for conduct detrimental.
Right. Well, I just wanted on the record, I think the legal system is hijacking this young guy's career.
They are. They're wasting a lot of time.
Maybe we'll come back one day. I don't know. None of us know what's really in the files. All we know is what, Baker's attorneys say. And of course, they're not going to come on the air and say, oh, yeah, he did it, because that just kills their case. We don't know what's in the case. So I can't promise you that a year from now that Baker's not found guilty. I have no idea. But in the meantime, while they figure this out and they're playing Russian roulette with his career, they're messing with his career. And I'm not happy about it because I want him on the field this year and I think he should start. But on that note, we got to get into some Jet stuff because I know Justin's clamoring over here. So the big story for the Jets, it basically has taken over their camp, is Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams never happy, but he has 2 years left on his deal, so a lot of people don't really care. And I have gone around and spoken to some Jet fans on social media, the Jet fans that I still can speak to because a lot of the groups don't want people talking about the Jets because I think it's better for them if they're not spoken about. So Adam Gase says that him and Jamal Adams get along really well. He went on the record and said really well. And right now, Justin, who is a Dallas fan, is saying Jamal Adams is greedy, which is weird for me considering he wants to go to Dallas. But anyway, he says they get along really well. Other people dispute that. Now, what do you think about Adam Gase saying they get along really well? And do you believe the Jets when they say that as our 10 o'clock signal goes off? What do you say when the Jets say they want to pay Adams? They just want to see what the new cap number is going to be.
Well, what do you want? What do you want the head coach to say about one of his star players, right? I mean, you want him to say, we got a terrible relationship. We should get rid of the guy. Well, listen. He didn't comment on the extension of the contract. He didn't talk about the team business either. He didn't come out and say, yeah, I support him getting an extension. He didn't say we should sign him to a new contract. He didn't say that. All he said is we get along good, which can mean 100 different things. And, of course, players are going to dispute this because they're not in the know anyway. I don't think him and Adams are going out for a drink anywhere and they're going to be hanging by the pool. That's not the relationship a coach and a player has. Of course they get along good. He plays for your team. You better get along good. That only makes sense. So Gates really didn't say nothing. I think the one that you've been worried here is the head coach of the Jets, whether he's around next year or not Adams.
Let me tell you something. Joe Douglas went to Adam Gase and said, Adam, keep your damn mouth shut. Don't say anything that you want to say, like you did with Le'Veon Bell when you said, I didn't want to pay him this much money. He won't throw him under the bus now like he did to Le'Veon Bell because he saw the backfire from that and how badly that went. Plain and simple, the Jets just need to go ahead and cut that check for him or let him trade him off and the thing that hurts them the most is the fact that he's basically tanked any value that they could have gotten for him because teams are going to look at the Jets and say, hey, he doesn't even want to be there. You have to trade him. Here's a bag of chips and a hot dog, and we'll give you some 10th row seats to go see whoever play some baseball, and you're going to send us Jamal Adams. And they're not going to have a choice, okay? Because they know that he's just not going to play for them at the end of the day if he doesn't get paid. And honestly, I think really and truly he doesn't want the Jets to pay him. I think he wants to get out of there. I think he wants to get out of there and get on a more primetime team. Granted, the Jets are in New York. The Jets are not primetime like the Giants are, like bigger teams in the area. He wants to be a star in a star market. And that star market is Dallas because that's where he's from. You went to A&M, all that stuff like that. I get it. Jets would be foolish to let him go, but I really don't think they have a choice. Adam Gase is full of crap. I don't listen to nothing. Adam Gase is a liar. Adam Gase is a liar. Period. Adam Gase is a liar.
We need to have him on the show. Don't call him a liar.
I don't want him on the show. Adam Gase is trash. He was trash in Miami. Adam Gase is trash for the Jets. He treats his players like trash. I don't like him. I don't give a damn what Adam Gase does, and I hope they fire his ass before the end of the season.
And whose fault is that? That's the Jets ownership again. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about the Jets ownership. And you know something? Hess trucks are great, and Hess oil is beautiful. I'm glad he has a bunch of companies there. He has no idea what he's doing Because I'm going to tell you right now, when you hire a head coach, that ain't the GM. Everybody says, the GM hires the head coach. That's a bunch of nonsense. If the owners don't like that head coach, he ain't coming anywhere. And they got to give that GM they're okay before any coach gets in there. And that's why the Giants messed up with Schumer. That's why the Jets have messed up with the rest of their head coaches, because you have an owner that knows nothing about football right now, just like the Giants owners that are in charge of what head coach and what they do as far as running their team. So this is not just Gase. This is not about him. This is about the Jets ownership. And I'll tell you right now, I feel bad for the Jets fans right now because they had some teams in history that were pretty good. Besides 69, they had some teams that were really good, but that owner has held them back for years.
Long time.
You cut me off twice. You owe me 2 quarters now.
2 quarters.
Here's the thing. First, let me say to Jet Nation, and if this video ever gets around to Mr. Gaze and the Jets organization, while I do not feel the same way these two people feel, so if y'all ever want to come on as some Jet guests for like the 20-minute segment, just be me and you guys, them on the side just for a little while, because I don't think you suck. I love you guys. Anyway, so I agree with everything Matt says. I think Adam Gase, what else is he going to say? He's not going to come out and just say, this is this. I don't think they're going to trade him because I don't think they're going to give him away. And I still think they're going to pay him. I think as soon as they find out the new cap number, they're going to pay him. And then it's going to be up to Jamal Adams to say, do I want to be here or not? But I wouldn't trade him. The player has no power here.
I would trade him for like 3 draft choices right now. I'm not trading him for anything other than super value. I'm not giving him away. If I was the owner, I would tell that GM, I want the best trading package you can get with draft picks and veterans, and he's asked me out the next day. I'm telling you right now.
Only if it's fair. Only if it's fair. Don't give him away, because at some point, with all due respect, I mean, we all work jobs, right? You get to go up to your boss and say, I'm done. Trade me to the base, the government building 4 states over. No, you'd be like, go out on it. You don't like it, quit. So Jamal Adams, this is in all sports. I don't care if it's baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Players work for the owners, and the owners pay well. Jamal Adams has already collected $14 million, so let's not act like he's poor, all right? They don't own the power, and the only way you stop that is you stop trading someone every time they just say, I want out. That's not how it works.
Well, I disagree with you to a point, because the players do have power inside that locker room and on the field. I don't care if the owner has the rights to this guy. If this guy, as we have seen with other football players, that if this guy starts causing a ruckus, then as Matt said before, his value is going down. Well, guess what? I don't want any of that stuff in my locker room. I want you to take the next bus ticket out of here. I'm going to get a first-round draft choice. I'm going to get an experienced safety. I maybe even get a lineman in the deal. There are teams out there that will be willing to do that.
The point is, the point is that if you want to trade him, fine. You want to say the player can cause turmoil in the locker room, fine. But you don't give him away just because he doesn't want to be there. You only trade him if it makes sense for your team, okay? If the Dallas Cowboys want to call you up and say, we'll give you 2 first-round picks and Collins, which is the name I've seen floated out there, the left tackle, then you trade him, because he didn't win there. You did. Because now you got 2 number ones and a starting left tackle. Yes. But you don't dump him just for a 3rd and a 5th round pick because he's crying. That's not how this works.
No, I agree completely. You can't give every player what they want when they want it. It doesn't work like that. They sign a contract for a reason. The fact of the matter is, there shouldn't be 25 safeties making more than Jamal Adams in the NFL this year, period. Production matters. Production counts. And for him to have to sit down and watch guys that are a third of his talent making 3 times as much money, no, I wouldn't do that. Why would you do that? If you're working your job and somebody's doing a worse job than you want to talk about work. If somebody's doing the same, we have the same occupation, and they're not as good as me at my job, and they're getting paid more money than me, am I gonna want to keep doing my job to the fullest? You'll see him just like Janoris Jenkins last year, making those business decisions on the field, and it's going to affect the team. The first time he doesn't make a tackle, the first time he doesn't go hard on a play, the first time he jogs a little bit running down a runner, they're going to be up his backside about he's not hustling, he's not trying, he's not working.
But what you're talking about, I agree with the point, but it's apples and oranges, Matt. Me and you don't have contracts, multi-million-dollar contracts that we sign, and our part of our agreement is to play the football the best we can. Okay, and he has done that. But there is also other things that come into the play about the team. You're still a team player. Right now, if they're just talking about Jamal Adams and they're worried about controlling Jamal Adams, they're not thinking of other things they should be thinking about right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I was the owner, and I'm telling you this, Jim, I don't care if you get 2 first rounds or a first round and a third round and a good player, a quality player, I'm going to send a message to my team saying, hey, listen, if you're going to come here and you're going to disrupt this whole team because you personally aren't happy with the contract that you signed for and that you should be holding up that, then you're gone, man, because I don't need players like you here.
I disagree with you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm sorry. I personally believe that he just doesn't even want to be with the Jets anymore.
Agreed.
I think this is like a scapegoat move for him. I think this is just an easy out for him not to have to go to the Jets and say, or go to the people in New York and say, hey, I don't want to play here anymore for you guys. I don't want to be a part of this organization. And that's it. You know, he doesn't want to seem like that. He was telling them, hey, listen, pay me or move me. You know, and he's knowing that they're not going to pay him until the cap increases. So they're going to move him. I don't know if they're going to move him where he wants to move or if they'll get the value that they deserve for him or what he warrants. But I just don't see things working out long run with him and Gase.
Well, see, you brought up my point. That's what I was just going to say. That's my biggest issue. I don't give a crap where Jamal Adams says he wants to go. You have no say over that whatsoever. No. And you saying that to try to make other teams not trade for you, knowing you won't be happy there, I don't care. I would, you know what? If you want to go to one of these 7 teams, I would charge them double what I would charge someone else.
They want you, they're going to pay.
They're going to pay a lot. Otherwise, I'll take a semi-good deal and send you to Cincinnati or send you to somewhere else. But if you want to go to one of those teams, because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to put it out there that don't try trading for me if you're one of those other teams, because I won't be happy. I'll come here and cause the same problems. You know, if I was the Jets, because you guys are too kind. You guys are like, oh, he doesn't want to be here. Just get him out. No, I would show him you work for us. I would say, here's what you can do. Go sit home and waste 2 years on the couch, but we're not trading you.
He's their only star. He's their only star.
I don't care. He works for us. We don't work for him. That's the way it works. Don't sign the contract. You want us to trade you? Give back the $14 million signing bonus. Prorate it. Give me back.
Everybody's talking about Adam Gase as a head coach. First of all, Adam Gase didn't even deserve the Jets job.
Well, before you go NATO on Adam Gase, what you're going to do, and we have all our Jets fans. I know you're going to do it.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
We have a lot of Jet fans are on here now. We got Simon, Justin. You know, we got a few. We only have like 3.
And they agree that he doesn't deserve the job or didn't deserve it in the first place.
But give him a little hope. Can you give him say something hopeful to the Jet fan? Can you?
Tom Brady is no longer in your division. Have some hope. You got a good young quarterback and a good young wide receiver, and Greg Williams coaching your defense. And have a little bit of hope.
And that green color on their uniforms is pretty nice.
You guys got some nice uniforms. I like your uniforms too.
There you go, Jet fans. I got you 2 hopeful comments in a uniform comment. Listen, send me a Jet hat and I will mail it to him. I will do it. He should wear it for at least 20 minutes.
I got a Wayne Corbett jersey from back in the day my buddy Troy Nyack gave to me when we were in elementary school for a birthday.
Does it fit?
No.
Oh.
hey, and all my memorabilia, I got a few Jets, great pictures and frames of the sack exchange of Joe Namath, and I got Emerson Boozer. I got a lot of Jets memorabilia, but until they start showing me something here,
I'm not going to understand if I'm not a little confused by Simon's comment. Is he in favor of Gase? Because it sounds like, which is okay. I mean, you're a fan of the team. You deserve to be a fan of who you want. But it looked like he was making a case that we're a little too rough on Gase. Or am I misunderstanding?
He's saying that the fact that they went 7-9 last year with 21 guys and the worst O-line in football, Sam Darnold missing a bunch of games with mono, and they still went 7-9 is a small miracle, which kind of is. But you're also in the division with the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, and now the Tom Brady-less New England Patriots.
But that was last year with Brady there. So I mean, you gotta give him a little hope. You got
to Brady was
you got to give. Hey, listen, you got to give the Jets a little bit of credit last year, maybe a lot of credit. They did win some tough games. Darnold played an excellent job at quarterback. With no weapons. I mean, listen, they did have a good year last year, and hopefully they do better this year.
See, I says that you're like, I give them credit. When I say it, you're like, I give them any credit.
I just don't. The Adam Gase is the only issue I have with the Jets. I love the Jets, like the way they used to build their team with the defense, the linebackers, man, the running game, man. The Jets used to be the bee's knees, bro. The Jets used to be it, man, when Chad Pennington was there with Lavernius Cole and Santana Moss, man. You guys remember that? That was explosive football, man. They were planting flags in the middle of the field going to AFC title games. The Jets were a powerhouse, you know? And then you just keep bunking it with your head coach, bunking it. You're trading away good players, trading away great wide receivers. What are you expecting? You go bring in the Miami Dolphins head coach, Adam Gase? You should have fired him the day he showed up to the press conference high as a kite. Is the day they should have got rid of him.
Hey, Simon, none of us are acting like the Giants are going 13-3. In fact, we all predicted him to go somewhere around 8-8, and nobody's. I'm just saying he's not high on Adam Gase. I'm on the.
That's it. It's not the Jets. It's Adam Gase.
I'm in the middle. I don't, So at the end of the day, we'll see what happens with Jamal Adams. Simon, they did go 3-1. We're not Simon is a New York show. We're not knocking the Jets. We're going to talk. We're only talking about the coach. We're only talking about the coach. We're not talking about anything else about the Jets. We all think Darnold's a good quarterback.
We support the Jets. We really do.
We're Jets and Giants guys. We're just more Giant fan than Jet, but we're both guys. But no one's knocking the Jets. Believe me, we love Darnold. We love a lot of areas they're going.
Yeah.
Wide receiver Mims is going to be spectacular. Mm-hmm. We're just debating the coach, but we're really debating the coach in reference to his relationship with Jamal Adams.
And the owners.
Players.
Yeah. Right. And the owners.
Because that's in the news. I mean, that is what is being spoke about right now. All the news surrounding the Jets right now, the only thing they're talking about is Jamal Adams. So we're just
Joe Douglas is going to tighten them boys up. Joe Douglas is going to have the Jets in a good place in a few years, but the fact of the matter is they have to bring in the right coach, Adam Gase. I will say it until I retire. Adam Gase is not the coach to lead the Jets to any sort of.
What do you think about get rid of Gase? Do you
bring in Eric Bieniemy?
Where a lot of the Jet fans said Greg Williams should get the job.
Greg Williams should have got the job once he. Yeah, well, Greg Williams has an issue because he can coach defense like a son of a gun. He's an amazing defensive coach, but we've seen that the head coaching job is not necessarily for him with his style. He's the kind of guy that needs to really focus on what he's doing, kind of like Pat Shurmur as our offensive coordinator, Ben McAdoo, same thing. Those guys are coordinators. They need to stay there and stay in that role as a coordinator. Bring in a young guy who's going to fire your team up, man, and really diversify your offense a little bit.
Kind of like no one knew at first, but he's young. He's got.
Listen, Judge has fiery. Listen, when people see Judge on the sideline, like go back and watch. I just went a couple of days ago and watched a couple of Patriots highlights and games and stuff like that. And when you see Bill Belichick on the sideline, headset up, he's talking to Joe Judge. When they're consulting and conferring on the sideline, he's going to Joe Judge, and Joe Judge is coming to him. So he was very involved, Joe Judge, in the coaching and the establishment of the game plan, things like that. Coached the whole team. As a special teams coach, you coach the entire team, everybody. Okay,
yeah, of course you got to manage all the personnel.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. What do you think of the Joe Douglas? I'm a big fan of the
love Joe Douglas.
I think he's doing a great job. And listen, you got to give him a little credit for the Jamal Adams thing here, because to be honest with you, a different GM could have just went out and said, because Jamal Adams has been chirping now for a month. So a different GM could have just went and dumped him for like a 3 and a 5 and said, get him out of town. But Joe Douglas is doing what's right for the team. And he's saying, listen, I'm not going to deal you. Well, first of all, he's publicly said, I'm not going to deal you, which I wouldn't expect him to say, I'm only going to deal you if I get the right offer, because by saying I'm not going to deal him, he's basically telling the other teams, you're going to have to pay up if you want to get him. He's got to, he's got to play his leverage. But Douglas is doing the right thing. I mean, he's trying to build the team the right way. Whether Gase is the guy or not, it starts in the general manager office, and you got to be happy with Joe Douglas. He's done.
Joe Douglas is smart.
Yeah,
he's smart. He built the Eagles up. into a contender. He built that defense. He built that special teams. He helped build the offensive line. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to draft. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. I don't believe Adam Gase is their coach into the next season. I think this might be it for him. Joe Douglas is going to want to bring his own guy in, even though Adam Gase allegedly helped him get the job.
Basically got Joe Douglas the job.
Whatever. Like, I don't.
Again,
give
guys,
it to Joe Douglas. Go ahead, man.
Again, guys. The GM's job is to find the best talent available at a certain pick and what the team needs. It's the coaching and coaching staff's job to develop them, to bring them into the system, and to set up a system for these guys. And if you don't have a good head coach, I don't care if you've got the greatest GM to ever walk the planet, you're not going to have a winning team because they're the ones that get the players in line. They're the ones that get the players playing good football, not the GM.
Yep. So we'll get down the home stretch here. I want to bring up Sam Darnold. Reading an article today, or actually the other day, from Ralph Fasciano, I butchered his name. I pulled the Mac. Sorry, Mac.
Hey, listen, I tried to get I'm trying to get him in as a guest too, and here you are butchering his name.
Well, listen, he knows I love him. So I looked at, and he had an article out there talking about how year 3 for Darnold and how critical this year is for him. Now, I have my opinion on this is kind of split because I think year 3 is when you do see a quarterback take a step to another level. But I kind of felt like he wrote that article a little bit, kind of insinuating that if Darnold had a bad year or didn't grow, it would be an issue with his future in the Jets. Mac, I disagree with that. I mean, I think it's a big year for Darnold, but I don't think there's any scenario where Darnold has to do a certain amount of stuff this year to be the Jets quarterback next year.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, big guy. Because listen, Sam Darnold is as good as the team around him, and I harp on it's a team sport. There are quarterbacks that can make plays. Sam Darnold did that last year. He had no offensive weapons. He didn't have a good offensive line, but yet he kept them in games when he wasn't hurt from that kissing disease. When he played the quarterback position, he made the Jets in every game. I mean, they were there. They went 7-9, which is to me was an unbelievable year for Darnold and the Jets to get to that 7-9 point. And you know something nice? Anybody that right now says this is Darnold's year to prove whether he's going to be a franchise quarterback for the next 10 years doesn't know what they're talking about. This is a great quarterback. He's a great kid. And if he has a good coach and a good offensive coordinator and a good position coach, he's going to be really, really good for the Jets.
Well, one of the arguments he brought up was, and this is the only valid point of the argument, is you're getting to the point, he's in year 3 now. You know how it is. Rookie contract after year 4, you got to get paid. So his basis of the argument is that over this next year and a half, is Darnold's chance to throw the Jets, to show the Jets if he's worth that $200 million deal which he'll be in, which is what a quarterback will get paid. By the time year 4 is up, he's going to be wanting that kind of deal. So the Jets kind of have these 2 years to say, okay, this is our $200 million guy going forward, or he's not. I believe he is. I think he's a really good quarterback. I mean, I've never watched a Jet game. I mean, I've seen him struggle. I know the whole thing with the ghost comment and all of that stuff, but I've never really watched a Jet game and looked at him and saw that he was so lost that I was like, this is not the guy. I mean,
he's got the talent, man. Listen, he's played 13 games in 2018, 13 games in 2019. So he hasn't played a full season yet. Mm-hmm. 26 games, you're looking at a 11-15 overall record in those 26 games. Right around 60% completion, like just under 60%, 59 and some change. Around 6,000 yards passing, 225 a game roughly. Youngest quarterback to post quarterback rating higher between 110 and 116. He's 21 years old when he did that. So the guy can play some, but we know he's good. We know he can play. The fact of the matter is, different offensive system both of his first 2 years. And that's going to affect anyone negatively. It's going to affect Daniel Jones negatively next year, having to learn a new offensive system. Yep. Okay, it's things you have to consider, and the fact of, and again, like people have talked about, the offensive line has been terrible for the Jets. Terrible. The wide receivers have been less than impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's running 36 touchdowns in those 26 games, 28 interceptions in 26 games, and he's been sacked 63 times in 26 games. Okay. 63 times in 26 games over 2 seasons.
That's almost 3 a game.
Yeah, that's just the sacks. That's not even counting how many times he's been hit. And we've seen him get crushed. And guess what? He's getting up. He straightens up his helmet. He drops back in the pocket. He's still running the ball. He runs a 4.8. He's not like the fastest guy, but he's fast for a quarterback. 4.8, 4.5, 4.4.
He's not Daniel Jones, but he's not terrible.
No, he's mobile. Yeah,
he's mobile. He's mobile enough. He's mobile enough to make things happen when he has to. The Jets have to get him some help. I think Javon Mims is going to help big time. Right? I think Mims is going to help big time, but they don't have anyone to take the pressure off him. Now, the thing about it is that they have 2 or 3 really good number 2, number 3 wide receivers that can really, Jameson Crowder, guys like that they can play football. They're good wide receivers, but they're not going to draw a double team. None of them are going to draw a double team.
They're going to draw a double team, right? And to answer the question about is he younger than Burrow, they're the same age. There's a difference of about 6 or 7 months there.
Ice, you made a great point there about changing the offensive scheme in 2 years with a young quarterback. If he's an 8-year veteran, let's do it. We can do this. Roethlisberger did that. He became better. But when you're a rookie quarterback and you're coming into the NFL, in the first 2 or 3 years, they change offensive coordinators, destroys quarterback careers. Yep. So he handled it really well last year, and I think he'll do fine with it this year.
Yep, He should be all right. He was pressured 43% last year. Welcome Edward to the show, another guy. So we'll see what happens. We're down the home stretch here. So we got lots of Jets and Giants talking today. For this week, we're back on the air Monday 4 to 6, Tuesday 4 to 6, and Wednesday 5 to 7. For those who are new listeners, during the week we usually discuss a mix of basketball, hockey, all sports breaking news, some football, some baseball. But of course, for those who are new, because I saw we have a few new people today, Saturday mornings an all baseball show, Sunday mornings an all football show, and then during the week it's a mix of everything.
And don't forget about boxing. We have a lot of great.
He'll never let me forget boxing.
A lot of great guests.
A lot, there's a lot of people. I mean, I don't even know. There's some boxer somewhere in Korea. He's 12 years old, and Mac's probably going to get him on the show with a translator and the words at the bottom. It's okay as long as we talk some boxing. He gets a boxer, but he can't get me a wrestler. Like, can we get a wrestler?
You know how tough that and how closed that wrestling federation is there, trying to get publicity from.
Let's trying to get guests.
Oh my God!
None of them are wrestling right now.
I'm telling you, Jim, you don't deal with these guys. I mean, that wrestling unit their promotions. They like to handle everything, man. It's like a big show there. I'm cracking it, but it's hard to get in there. But I'll get it. Yeah.
I'm going to get Stone Cold on here.
That would be great.
So he could come on and threaten to whoop Mac's ass.
I'll fangirl. Hey, I will fangirl the entire time you bring Stone Cold Steve Austin on.
I ain't scared. I ain't scared of Stone Cold.
I'm going to have Stone Cold.
I ain't scared of
the rattlesnake.
I ain't scared. I got a baseball bat in the corner. I'm fine. I ain't scared.
A stunner. That's going to be hilarious.
Hey, as long as he gives me a beer after the match is over, I'll go for it.
He'll definitely give you 2 problems.
Maybe
pour it over you while you're laying there.
Max is laid out. Like, I thought this was fake.
Listen, I am excited to see what's going to happen this week when you guys discuss all the different things going on in the wide world. We have so many different things in sports going on to talk about.
I can't wait till the end of July.
Yeah, man.
Because honestly, what we're supposed to be doing is coming on the air and reviewing the game highlights and talking about what happened the night before. And I got to teach Mac all the hockey names. That's going to be a ton of fun.
I'll never learn that. And to remind everybody, I know we haven't said nothing about this yet, but we do have a guest interview. We have Iceman John Skelly coming on Wednesday. It's probably going to be a quick interview. We're going to talk about his boxer, his boxer. He's a lightweight champion, light heavyweight champion. And Jack Kirsch made a couple interesting comments about what he should do with his boxer. And this is going to be really interesting.
Well, I'm glad he did. For the record, the day and time he just told me too. I mean, I knew it was coming, but I had no idea what day and time is. I think we should have to ban Max Guest from the show.
Oh, man.
He's the only one who gets guests right now for us, so that'd be a little complicated, maybe, but, I mean, I don't even know when people are coming and go.
Quality guests, too. These guys are very famous and very knowledgeable.
We love Iceman Scully. He's been very respectful to the show, and he does that. Author Beterbiev is his light heavyweight boxer who is undefeated, climbing up the ranks, and according to Jack Hirsch, is probably unstoppable in that division, and will need to, as he mentioned on the show, will probably need to step up to possibly, and we're going to ask Iceman Scully when he's here. See this, Mac? I'm giving you tons of boxing promo right here.
There you go.
In my life. We're probably going to ask him what Jack Hirsch mentioned is whether Author Beterbiev can go up 35 pounds to get the type of fights that give the type of payday and exposure that he needs, because the light heavyweight division is not very strong right now. And if he would lose any of his abilities if he goes up. So he's coming in by phone, right? We're having
that's how we got it.
We got to work these phone lines before Google Voice kicks me off the phone. Like, you never use it. Get out of here. So great show today. Was a good weekend. We got a lot coming for you this week. We'll post later on today what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We're 4 weeks away from every sport starting. And then we'll be on the air talking about whether they won or lost. And
we hope.
What? Yeah, we're 4 weeks away from all 4 spots starting. I'm rooting for anyone who plays against the Lakers. I don't care who it is. The Pelicans, the Sacramento Kings, I don't care. The Brooklyn Nets, I don't care. As long as it's not the Lakers don't win the title, I don't care who wins the title.
Oh, they're going to win the title.
No.
I don't think so.
Go Milwaukee.
It's set up. It's a setup.
Milwaukee.
The setup is for the Pelicans to knock them out in the first round. That's what the NBA wants. The NBA
that would be beautiful. That would be beautiful. When it won't happen, but it'd be great.
Probably not. But
everyone have a great day.
We're out. Y'all be good. Have a good time. See you later.
Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.